it's me, your spoopy whoopy femboy, and today is the start of my Borkaween spectacular. Title is obviously still not entirely set in stone since I don't even entirely know what it's gonna be. I'm sure it's gonna be Borkaween, possibly. I guess you'll see though when the video comes out. So this was not supposed to be the first video for Borkaween this year. Not at all. Actually, the first video wasn't even going to be a film review. But since this film just came out, and I honestly wasn't even planning on seeing it, when I had the chance to see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be perfect. So today I am going to do a very quick, and by very quick, I mean very quick. This is not going to be an in-depth review, and there's plenty of those out there. I personally really enjoyed Angry Joe's review, even though I don't agree with his opinion. A couple of his co-hosts, I guess, I agree with their opinions a bit better regarding the movie. So definitely, I can link that in the description for you to check out if you wanted more of an in-depth thing and not just like a quick little me talking about what I liked and what I didn't like and stuff like that, you know? So yeah. Today I am reviewing Halloween Kills. Or, as I like to say, Halloween still is pretty boring. That's super shitty. I'm sorry. I couldn't not say it. Like, come on. Also, the movie, if you can't tell, based on my little bit, I didn't quite enjoy it. Not at all. That being said, I think that you might enjoy it for definitely way different reasons than me. So I will explain what I didn't like about it and then what I liked about it, because I do not like to end my videos on a negative note if I can help it. So obviously I think the biggest thing, and I feel like this is just maybe a problem with a lot of slasher movies that aren't aware that it's a problem. It's very much a cliche part of slasher films, which I love slasher films myself. Even though Halloween has always been sort of my least favorite, I still appreciate it because it is one of those OG, it's been around forever. But basically this film suffers from what a lot of very sort of generic slasher films suffer from, which is it is incredibly predictable, and also it is not very creative, or it's just a little cliche, I guess I would say. As it is one of those horror movies where you could see what's coming from a mile away. When a character's introduced, you can immediately tell what they're supposed to be in the movie, and there's basically no doubt about it, because this movie just doesn't seem to, I don't know, it doesn't seem to think that subverting expectations or anything like that is important, which it isn't always, especially in movies like this. That being said, it is hard to feel the impact of a character getting killed when you can tell with the second that they're introduced that they're gonna die. It's kind of, I don't know, it makes it feel a little stale, I guess, would be a word I could use for it, but I don't know. That being said, I could see how that could be a positive, as I feel like there's a lot of comfort in knowing a movie has a formula, which is totally fine. I think lots of films have formulas are still really enjoyable. I just feel like this one, it wasn't that fun. So that being said, let's see. Next up, I would basically say that the first Halloween, none of the characters who survive are likable. I feel like in order to really care about characters and to really wanting to see them live, they should be interesting, right? I feel like I'm not weird for saying that. Any character in either this one or the Halloween remake from 2018, I forget, but the last Halloween that came out, any characters who were likable or had distinct personalities, who weren't just bland, boring, even frustrating characters, die. Always, absolutely. It's if you see a character come on screen in one of these two movies that has any sort of personality, they are going to die. It's just how it is. And it's just frustrating, I guess. Even though I don't mind likable characters dying, it almost kind of makes it so your villain is much less likable. As if you really enjoyed one of the characters who becomes victims, you almost would wish that their killer would get what he deserves, right? I feel like that's not like crazy to say. And yet this movie tends to kill any character with any semblance of being like interesting or fun. And while I feel like a lot of people, especially like when if you watch the Angry Joe review, they hated a lot of the characters in this movie, even the characters who are supposed to be a bit more likable. That being said, I am happy that all across the board, even straight guys love the super amazing couple that is Big John and Little John. They were my favorite characters in this movie. And of course, they're gay, so they have to die. That's just the cliche, isn't it? I feel like there was no chance of them living. The fact that they're a happy couple who's gay means that in a horror movie, especially horror movies like this, they have no chance of surviving. You just can't survive if you're happy in a loving relationship, or if you're gay, or just basically, especially in Halloween, I've noticed a lot of minorities just typically do not live. And I don't want it to be I want to make this political, so I'm not going to say anything more about that. I'm just saying horror movies have a problem where it just kills anything that isn't straight or white. Or that being said, they do allow women to live, as final girls of course are a thing. It's just typically way less likely that that final girl isn't white or straight or cis or whatever. But that's all I'm gonna say about it. I don't want you to click off just because I mentioned that. It's just something that bugs me, and I wanted to bring it up. As Big John and Lil John did not deserve it. They were such precious little beans, and I would love if they said like a psych, they didn't actually die, but they clearly suffered a lot, which is awful. At least it seemed like their deaths weren't as drawn out as some of the other deaths in it, but even then, they still died, and that is incredibly unfortunate. So, speaking of unlikable characters, I feel like even the characters who we were supposed to root for, like Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter and her granddaughter, are both so stale and boring. I feel like I like her daughter better, but even then, she's such a Karen. And it's almost funny because her name is Karen. So it's like they knew that. I don't know, and no offense to the actors, because the actors I feel like did a pretty good job. But it's just the characters themselves are not written to be very likable, I guess I would say. So I did not enjoy it very much at all because of that. And even when by the way, lots of spoilers in this video. You can probably tell considering the fact that I basically spoiled most of like the deaths and stuff in it. You should not watch this video if you have not seen it, or if you care about spoilers. But I just, even though like Karen does die at the very end, I still wasn't satisfied by it. If anything, the ending came across almost very anticlimactic, in my opinion. Since I felt a big part of this movie was the town getting together and getting revenge on what Michael Myers did. And so at the very end, I felt like the movie would have been stronger if they actually were able to kill Michael Myers, if he wasn't able to magically get back up from being shot like a dozen times and beat by dozens and dozens of people and act like nothing happens. Like, it's such like they put so much effort into it, and we watch these characters put so much effort into finally getting revenge for these horrible things this man has done, and he basically said like lol and just acted like nothing happened. And so it felt, my sister said it was very much like a Blue Balls kind of ending where you were disappointed, as it felt like everything that happened in the movie was for nothing. And that's what I felt. Of course, this was before I figured out that there is going to be a sequel to this next year, which makes more sense as to why they can't let him die. Although I felt like if they were not going to kill him, then just don't kill him. Like, don't have him basically render like 90% of this movie just like a waste of time, if that makes sense. So, that being said, I feel like that's a lot of the negative things I wanted to get out of the way. There were a lot of positive things. And by a lot, I don't mean a lot, I meant a couple. But there are a couple things I did like about the movie. I felt like the gore was incredibly good. It looked very practical and very realistic and very visceral and gross. Like, the gore and the kills were top notch. And I feel like if you go to a slasher film for that, then you will probably enjoy this movie. Like, a lot of the kills, even though a lot of them weren't very creative, a lot of them just ends up being just him, like, brutalizing somebody. I still felt like, I don't know. I liked how, they were satisfying, I guess, in terms of the actual, like, gruesomeness of it, if that makes sense. I was trying to find the right word for it, but gruesomeness does fit, considering a lot of them are very gruesome, very visceral, and very gross. Like, a lot of very gross deaths, although not in a, like, very body horror-y ways, like some other slasher films, like Nightmare on Elm Street does, or whatever. So, and also, one thing I noticed that I thought was really neat is there is a Seasons of the Witch Easter egg I was not expecting. I have seen almost every Halloween, even though I don't like it too much, I still have seen most of them. And Seasons of the Witch was one that stood out to me because it's so different. Michael Myers isn't even in it. And so I saw the Easter egg with like the 3 masks from Seasons of the Witch, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's such a neat little Easter egg. So I really enjoyed seeing that in theaters, and actually that did kind of brighten up my mood, especially after I don't know. There was a scene that happened right before where a group of like people who are trying to like hunt down Michael Myers and get revenge on him, they're just like brutalized by him, and he like, you know, like vandalizes their corpses and whatever, and sets up that scene. I liked a couple of the characters that were killed, and I felt like their deaths were just very quick and almost like they could have been anybody. It didn't even really have to be him, but I feel like a big part of why people like Michael Myers is because he kills like anybody. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, he's going to kill you. And so I feel like that it could be potentially a plus for a lot of people. So it's just unfortunate I really enjoy sort of the humanity in horror movies, if that makes sense. Like, often, even though the killers are what brings you in, often like really good like cast and like like victims sort of is the reason why I go back to watch movies in the first place. Like, I feel like that's what made it so amazing, is that even though Pennywise is such an interesting villain to watch, and a lot of people are coming to watch Pennywise, it's like the Losers Club is by far, I enjoy way more than Pennywise in those movies. So it's just unfortunate that any characters that in this movie, or even the previous one, that have any sort of like stuff to them, like any sort of like meat to their character, is just tossed away as if they were just a random person that showed up like 5 seconds before just to pad out the body count. So yeah, I did also think the music was pretty good. Of course, I do like the Halloween theme. I think it's very spooky, and I really enjoy it. And so I was happy it played as much as it did, which I feel like it does. And like, yeah, I don't really think I have too many other positive things to say about it, because I don't want to like kiss the ass of the movie or whatever, because I did enjoy it. Well, I don't know if I would say I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was a complete waste of my time, is what I would say. I was happy I saw it because I was interested in it as I saw the first Halloween, and I actually didn't hate it. I think that I thought it was more mediocre than anything, but I did enjoy the ending for the movie. It had a lot of the same problems that this movie does, but I feel like the ending was far and away way better than this movie. So my final rating for Halloween Kills would be 4, and I was gonna give it a half, but just 4 of those Spirit Halloween Michael Myers sour orange knife candy things out of 10. And I would give the original, like the one that came out like 2 years ago, like the Halloween remake, 5 of those yummy sour orange knives. They're not actually that yummy. They're kind of chalky, but I would much rather eat like 5 cartons of those than watch Halloween Kills again. So yeah, that's kind of it, I think. I hope that if you were a fan of the movie, or just a fan of Michael Myers in general, that I didn't like hurt your feelings, because I totally get it. Like, I really enjoy slasher movies. Nightmare on Elm Street and Hellraiser are my 2 favorites, even though Hellraiser isn't technically a slasher film, but you know. It's just unfortunate that Halloween, which I feel like is a very, I don't know, just not as interesting as other slasher films, even like Friday the 13th, is getting so much money and attention to make remakes, when I feel like it'd be better for even another series like that to get that attention and money instead. But that's just me. Halloween Ends is going to come out next year, I hear. And so I am going to have to watch it, and it'll probably be part of Borkaween for 2022. I'm like pretty darn certain, unless it's delayed, in which case, whoops. So I'm excited though for Borkaween this year. It's a little later than I intended. I recently, and by recently I mean like 2 months ago, but definitely I am working right now, having a part-time job at Spirit Halloween, and this month has been incredibly busy. So I haven't really had the chance to make videos like this in a while, which I'm sorry. So I hope that you really enjoyed this a lot, and I am intending to release some spooky Let's Plays, and maybe one more film review, and then a very special Animal Crossing Halloween event, hopefully releasing on Halloween itself, if not the day before. So I really hope you're looking forward to that, because I am looking forward to it so much. I can't wait. It's just going to be so fun, I think. So yeah, I love you, and I would love you too. Bye!